Back in 2014, I had the opportunity to visit the High Museum here in Atlanta and check out the work of Win Bullock. Now, if you're not familiar with Win Bullock's work, his prints are absolutely spectacular. So much so that I actually had tears in my eyes when I was looking at his work. And immediately after I left the museum, I spent hours upon hours in the darkroom trying to produce something that felt vaguely like the tones and textures that I had seen that day. The following year, though, Leica released a camera that produced results that were almost on par with what I was looking for in the darkroom. What's going on YouTube? I hope you guys are having an amazing day. My name is Quintavious Oliver, and if you haven't already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell. I really appreciate little things like that keep this channel going. I really enjoy making these videos, and I hope that you guys are enjoying them just the same. Now, before we start talking about cameras and pictures and all that stuff, let's talk about music real quick, because I really think this will help put things in perspective. Now, I'm a big hip-hop head, and I absolutely love when I throw on my headphones and I can feel everything going on in a song. I mean, there's something about the idea that just through audio, just through listening, I can taste, I can touch, I can smell, I can feel. I've got all these things going on. All my senses are being stimulated just by what I'm hearing. I mean, it's something so simple, and yet music is a billion-dollar industry, and I love it when I can throw on a record and I'm there. I'm a part of the atmosphere that this MC has created through their lyrics. I mean, that is something that a lot of people say hip-hop has lost in recent years, but I think it's still out there, and I really appreciate everything that hip-hop is doing right now to keep that energy alive. Now, back when Leica released the original Leica Monochrom back in 2012, I want to say, I thought it was absolutely crazy. Why would anybody pay $8,000 for a camera that doesn't even see in color? I mean, that seemed ridiculous to me. Until I actually got my hands on one, or rather the Typ246. I actually tried the 246 before I tried the original M9 monochrome, and that camera blew me away. It was silly to think that a camera that cost around $8,000 and only saw in black and white could be a usable tool for everyday life, but it was. And it was something that I really enjoyed taking with me on my second trip to Cuba. Now, if you've subscribed to my channel for any amount of time, you've probably seen the video of me taking the Leica M7 around Havana, and I loved it. Probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my life. I mean, being in a place as lively and as colorful as Havana, Cuba, with a tool as amazing as the Leica M7, loaded up with tons of film. I mean, it was an absolutely remarkable experience, and I got to meet a ton of people, experience some really cool stuff. But on my second trip, I decided to simplify things, and I really wanted to capture the essence of Havana. Just like with hip hop using only audio to bring all senses forward, I wanted to use black and white to paint a picture of such a colorful and lively place. And I thought that the Leica Monochrom might be the perfect camera to do just that. And boy, was I right. I absolutely enjoyed every moment that I spent in Havana, Cuba with the Leica Monochrom. There were very few instances during that trip that I actually felt the need to pull out any color film. The Leica Monochrom Typ246 really did its thing in translating texture and tonality and light. And I mean, at its core, photography is just that, just drawing with light. That's literally what it translates to. So when it comes down to creating a photograph that really feels like something more than it looks like something, I really think this is the perfect camera. Not only did I enjoy using this camera in Havana, Cuba, I actually kept this camera for a few years and used it for just about everything. For portraits, this camera was spectacular and almost as good as medium format film. Considering this camera doesn't even have the ability to see any type of color, all it picks up is the light that bounces off of the subject and into the sensor. That's it. And because of that, it's able to pick up amazing amounts of detail. And I'm not really one to pixel peep, but when you make pictures with a camera that can pick up the detail that the Leica Monochrom can pick up, it's hard not to get close or zoom in and really enjoy the detail that this camera allows you to get. Now, I know Leica has brought out 2 new monochrome variants since the 246, and I've been trying to get my hands on one, but the good folks over at Leica have decided to leave your boy on red. So until they're willing to send me an M10 monochrome or the Q2 monochrome, we're gonna stick to what I know, and that's the Type 246. Now, one thing that I'm pretty certain of is that the 2 new Leica monochrome variants are probably spectacular in low light. And I can say that because the Type 246 was amazing, particularly when I would wander around the streets of Atlanta at night, or even go into a lot of bars and even the strip clubs here. Now, it's one thing to have access and have permission to actually go and document Atlanta's nightlife, especially things like the strip clubs here, because that's one thing Atlanta is famous for. But it's another thing to have a camera that's ISO can be cranked all the way up to 10,000 and still make usable pictures. Having a sensor that just soaks up all the available light is absolutely magnificent. And I couldn't imagine doing a project like that with something other than the Leica Monochrom. So it'd be really interesting to see what the new monochrome variants could do in situations like that. Now, I did get a chance later on in my journey with the Leica 246 to actually compare it to the M9 variant as well as film. It was a test that I decided to do because I had a lot of people ask me if it was worth the upgrade from the M9 monochrome to the Type 246, and I think so. I think the Type 246 was massively better at higher ISOs, especially when you consider the M9 monochrome was based on the Leica M9, and that thing was absolutely trash past ISO 1600. The M9 monochrome, however, was able to get usable results up to 3200, which is squeezing a lot out of that CCD sensor. But the Type 246, again, is able to just about see in the dark. Now, where I was surprised was the level of detail. Now, we're talking about Leica here, so of course I was using Leica lenses, specifically my trusty 35mm Summicron as spherical. I absolutely love that lens, and the Type 246 is really the reason why I fell in love with that lens. I was able to really squeeze every ounce of detail out of the photographs that I was making, and the M9 monochrome was able to enjoy the same type of detail that I was getting out of the Type 240 because, again, I was just using light and tonality. No colors, no extra layers on that sensor, just pure detail and light. Now, I also tested them both against Kodak Tri-X, and I still stand by the idea that film is better than anything that you're gonna get out of a digital camera. However, I almost stopped shooting black and white film for the entirety of the time that I spent with the Leica Monochrom Type 246 because it was just that good. And printing was so much nicer, being that I didn't have to spend hours in the darkroom. Now, there is something romantic about the idea of being in the darkroom and actually using chemicals and physically touching a print. However, when you've got deadlines and you've got galleries and museums counting on you, or you've got clients, or you've got to blow up a print at enormous proportions, it is much easier to do that digitally than it is to do it with film. And while I love the idea of using film and having something tangible, sometimes, especially here in 2020, it would behoove you to have a digital camera at your disposal. And that's kind of why I ended up selling the monochrome. Regrettably, the Leica Monochrom put me in too small of a box, and while I absolutely love that camera and would love to still have it, I just couldn't justify shooting everything in black and white and buying another body. Much like the Leica Q, I needed something a little more versatile, a little more diverse. So I decided to go with the Leica M240 at the time, and ended up hating every moment with that camera. I absolutely hated that camera. I can't stand it. Leica, if you guys are hearing me, you guys did a great job with the M10. Thank you for that one, because the Type 240 pretty much sucked. And the 246 is probably one of the best cameras that I've ever sold. And if I could do it all over again, I absolutely would. If you're looking for a camera that is going to stimulate your creativity and cause you to be a lot more observant of your surroundings, pay more attention to light, pay more attention to the relationship of colors rather than the colors themselves, then I strongly suggest picking up one of the Leica Monochrom variants. Hopefully here in the near future, Leica will actually drop one of those cameras in my hands and allow me to really explore what the Leica Q2 monochrome or the M10 monochrome can really do. But until then, I'm pretty much gonna have to enjoy shooting black and white film and reminiscing about what that M246 really could do. If you've got one, I'd absolutely love to hear about your experiences with any of the Leica monochrome variants. Drop your links in the comments below. You guys have been really great about sending in your pictures, and I really dig the stuff that you guys are creating. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane, peace.